Good morning and welcome at our Grain Look. Now, like we promised last week, today we're going to spend some time looking a little bit more in depth of what the current planting numbers means for us in the year going forward. What is that potentially going to do to prices? Now, the first table that you see here, this is our projected finishing or ending stock for the end of this marketing year, in other words, end of April 2012. So the ending stock here will be the opening stock or the carryover stock or the surplus stock that we're going to take into the new marketing year. In other words, the 1st of May 2012, and that will be for the 2012-2013 marketing year. Now that number around about 853,000 tons. There's a lot of talk in the media at the moment that there's a shortage of maize in South Africa. Maize prices are high, food prices are high. Now the reason is, if you look at the white maize number, that 214,000 ton carryover for white maize, that is very, very, very tight indeed. No margin for error as far as that number is concerned. But nonetheless, 853,000 tons, that's where we're going to start on. Now, according to the National Crop Estimate number, we're going to have around about 2.63 million hectares planted. Now, that number potentially is a knife edge number. It could be either very bullish or very bearish, and that's what we're going to try and find out now. If we take that number of hectares and we say the national country average is going to be 4 tons a hectare, that's going to give us a potential crop size of 10.5 million tons. If, however, the country average yield is going to be 4.5, that crop size goes to 11.8 million, and so forth and so forth. And at 5 tons a hectare country average yield, we're looking at a crop size of about 13.1 million. Add to that the carryover stock, and we've got total supplies of about 11.37 million ton versus 12.68 million ton, and then in the last scenario, 5 tons, potentially 14 million ton. Now let's assume domestic consumption in South Africa for the next year is going to be equivalent to what we saw over the last 2 years, around about 9.7 million tons that we take off that number. That will then give us 1.67. In the 4-ton scenario, 2.985, and then 4.3 million tons in the 5-ton per hectare yield scenario. Now keep in mind, South Africa always have a bit of a farm retention. Let's give that number at about 250,000 tons. We say that tons is not going to come to the market. We subtract it off, and then we get 1.42, 2.73 million, and 4.05 million. So these are the potential carryover numbers in the situation of zero exports. Now we've got to say to ourselves, are we or are we not going to export? Well, at a 1.42 million ton carryover stock, we potentially don't really need to export, but we will still see some exports. And if we see exports anywhere in the vicinity of even 1 million tons, that number is very tight. Then we're going to go to a carryover stock of around about 400,000 tons. That is potentially disastrous for the country from a stock point of view. That is a very, very, very bullish number then. We can really see prices move very strongly towards the upside if that is the actual scenario. However, at a 4.5 ton country average yield, we've got 2.73 million tons available. Will we export another 2 million tons? Well, I doubt that we would, because for us to actually be in a position to export 2 million tons deep water exports, in other words, that's non-African exports, we would have to get South African maize price to go back to a discount relative to Chicago, similar to what we saw in 2011 and in 2010. Now, I don't think that's really going to happen, but even if it does, and we maybe get another 1 million ton exports in the year that comes, 1.5 million tons, that is a fairly neutral number. Out of that 2.7 million, we can easily export 1.5, 1.6 million tons and not really have that big a problem. However, at a 5-ton yield, there's 4 million tons available. We will have to export at least 2 million tons again, similar to what we did in the last 2 seasons. Now, for us to do that, South African maize prices will definitely have to go back to a discount relative to Chicago, just for us to enable us to get at least a 2 million ton export. And even if we do get a 2 million ton export in the new season, then we can still potentially have a 2 million ton surplus, in spite of the fact that we exported around about 2 million tons. In that scenario, maize prices will be very bearish. That's it from us until next week. Do enjoy your farming.